All right, joining us now as we continue on Hannity, the author of the best-selling book Vengeance, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. You know, you have this incredible perspective because I'm making an argument tonight that 30 years of the Clintons and 30 years of smearing and slandering those women, now the reckoning of the Clintons coming. All right, so they came on the national scene in 1990, 1991. And now the Clintons can't do anything for the Democrats anymore. You know, as I'm looking at them as a party, I'm saying, when is the day of reckoning? She took all this money from countries that abuse women, kill gays and lesbians, and persecute Christians and Jews. It's kind of insulting to one's intelligence, isn't it?
Well, look, I think we're at a very important turning point for American culture. We've gone through a long period, what I described as the age of the Kardashians, where you could do anything, get away with anything. There's a fascinating book that contrasts the independent counsel and Bill Clinton and suggests that actually that particular investigation was when virtue died in America. Well, maybe what we're beginning to see happen is virtue coming back in America as people realize whether it's the extraordinary scale of the opioid epidemic, which the Trump administration reported on today, or the stunning amount of harassment and violation of women that we're seeing come out day after day now. All of a sudden, all these things that the left tolerated are beginning to be unacceptable and very painful. And that may lead the country, not just Republicans, not just conservatives, but the country to have a really serious conversation about what are the standards we want going forward.
How do we ever ascertain truth, he said, she said? It becomes very difficult if you believe in the presumption of innocence.
Well, there are two different things here. First of all, you do have the tendency for hysteria and a lynch mob attitude. So anybody can say anything about the last 40 years, and there's an automatic presumption of guilt. That's got to be washed away. I mean, we've got to go back to the principle, you're innocent until proven guilty. And we've seen cases, as you know, the Duke University, I think it was their lacrosse
Duke
team.
Lacrosse, yeah.
Was totally smeared and turned out to be totally false. There have been a whole series of these kind of cases. So I do think in that sense we got to go back to the core principle that you are innocent until proven guilty. On the other hand, I also think you've got to recognize that one of the purposes of Congress is to undertake investigations almost like a grand jury. I mean, the things that are coming out now, for example, about the whole Uranium One case and all the pieces that surround that, and I say to myself, where's the congressional hearing that week after week, month after month, simply strips away the lies and gets the facts back up so the American people can see what really happened?
The new development tonight, and I know you've read this article, is that you had an FBI informant in there, may have been there as long now as 6 years, we're discovering. Thousands of pages of documents available, and that, in fact, they knew that Vladimir Putin had purposely set out with agents involved in criminal activity, bribes, extortion, money laundering, kickbacks, racketeering, that we had an informant that knew all this was happening, was reporting back to the FBI, and apparently was even in Obama's presidential daily briefing. This is before CFIUS ended up giving the 9 department approval, including Hillary's state and Eric Holder's justice, and allowed this deal to go through, which on the surface never made sense. 20% of America's uranium in the hands of a bad actor, a hostile regime, Putin and Russia.
Let me say, first of all, they have done the most thorough, most systematic work on this. And if you take their work and that of Peter Schweitzer, who's written the book Clinton Cash, between them, they've done more to educate the country than all the congressional hearings, all the stuff being done at the Justice Department. I mean, it is appalling, the gap of serious, responsible investigation when they come up week after week with more and more stories. And I think you've been, frankly, the #1 person helping them reach the American people. And without your support of their work, they would still be basically totally unknown. But they ought to get a Pulitzer Prize for the level of investigative research they're now doing.
You know, last question. So the president, while he's in China, gets these 4 or 3 UCLA basketball players out. Then the father of one of the kids makes a statement that he didn't do much. Now, you steal in China, you can go to jail for years. And so the president says, well, maybe I just should have left you there. And then I'm thinking, that's pretty ungrateful, isn't it? That the father, if it was my son, I'd say, sir, thank you for standing up for my father. I'm going to handle whatever it was they did wrong myself at home, but thank you. You know, this could have been a potential disaster in his life. Now, there are people in the corrupt news media in this country tonight that are saying what the president tweeted is racism, because he basically said, well, maybe I should have left him in jail.
Well, look, that had nothing to do with their race. First of all, I think it's a sad commentary on what's happened to America when a father being told that his son was shoplifting in China isn't really angry at his son. I mean, he ought to be grateful to the president because his son could have been in really deep trouble. And second, if you're a UCLA basketball player, you're at a great university, you have a great future, what are you doing shoplifting? I think the people should be pretty irritated that these guys who have a privileged life, have a privileged future, have the chance for a multi-million-dollar career in the NBA, are out here, you know, embarrassing America, looking stupid, and doing something that's totally dumb. And I'm embarrassed for that father, that he didn't have the decency to say, thank you, Mr. President. I got to talk to my kid. I clearly didn't quite certainly get things across to him. I just think this is a sign of what's sick about America, that people don't take responsibility. They don't take accountability. Now, probably Trump shouldn't have said I should have left him in jail. What he ought to say is, I wish that father had been there in jail. Let the kids come home. It's the father who's being ungrateful,
thank you,
not the kids.
How about simple? Just thank you, sir, for what you did for my son. I'll take care of the stupidity of what he might have been involved in. Simple. All right, Mr. Speaker,
exactly.
Good to see you. Thank you for being